In this week's video, we're going to take a different approach and share with you some management mistakes that I've made on my property that you can learn from so you don't make the same mistake on yours.
Mossy Oak Properties. We're outdoorsmen. Find their favorite place.
When it comes to wildlife management, there's so much to learn. It's never ending. We never know it all, despite what some of us might say. But in this journey of continuous education, what's the best way to learn how to manage wildlife?
By failing.
Exactly.
And a lot of it.
By failing and a lot of it. Unfortunately, that can be the best way to learn it. And too often, I think, in today's age of media, social media, sharing information, it's easy to share our successes as teaching tools, which is great. We can learn a lot from what other people have done well, apply that, and we've done that. It saves a lot of time learning from other successes, but when we're doing it ourselves, sometimes failure is the best teacher.
Yeah, if you're not failing, you're not really learning. I know that sounds cliche-ish.
Yeah.
And there's another rule: if you don't break it, you're not using it right.
Right.
So those are two things when it comes to wildlife management, because basically it's farming for wildlife.
Yeah.
And if anybody knows anything about farming, you're going to break stuff, you're going to fail.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to agricultural, for us, it's food plots.
Right.
And boy, there's some failures there, especially when it comes to seed rates.
Yeah.
Overseeding a brassica stand where the turnips or whatever in the rape, they're stunted because it's too thick. Herbicide rates.
Right.
We didn't use it.
Yeah.
Or better yet, we put too much, didn't follow directions. Now we have basically weeds that are like glyphosate, like bring it on.
Resistant.
Yeah, resistant. Fertilizer. Not doing a soil test.
Right.
And the list goes on.
Yeah, there are a lot of tools and methods and approaches to wildlife management, as you mentioned, equipment and all the things that you just listed. And we mentioned the word failure, and it's not so much a failure. Don't look at it as a failure, but mistakes. And that's what we're going to discuss in this video, are some mistakes that I've made on my own piece of property that I had the best intentions for it. Ignorance is bliss. I didn't know any better at the time. I thought I was doing it by the book. I was out excited, doing the work, feeling good about it, but the results weren't what I expected it or wanted them to be. And I'm going to share with you those mistakes, so hopefully you can learn, or it'll trigger a thought in your mind that you can apply to your property and save you some time in the process. Yeah,
and trust us, this is not an hour-long video because of Cody's mistakes. But no, it's just going to be a great learning show.
That's right. All right, the first mistake that I'm going to share is actually the result of what I believe is a lot of good work on this piece of property that my dad and I bought 5 years ago. It was all pole timber when we bought it, and we had some clear cuts, little miniature 1 to 2 acre clear cuts installed, and we had some food plots made in the whole process. And the result in the center of the property, and why we put it where we did, was because of hunting access and to make really favorable hunting situations, which we've benefited from. We've shot some nice deer from the result of our habitat work. The wildlife have benefited from the clear cuts and the food plots. Obviously, there's pollinators in the clear cuts all during the summer. Deer are foraging in the clear cuts all year round. Turkey nesting. All kinds of wildlife are benefiting from the work that we did, which is the name of the game and why I did what I did. But as a result, and it took me a couple of years to piece this together, the way it's designed in the road systems, which we use as a fire break when we use controlled burns on these clear cuts to help manage the vegetation, it actually creates a really advantageous situation for predators to prey on fawns, because fawns bed in the clear cuts. There's often turkey nests in the clear cuts, and it's nothing for foxes, bobcats, coyotes, black bears, raccoons, all of which I have pictures of on this property to scent check these clear cuts, to get downwind of them, and to check for fawns, turkey poults, turkey nests, or any other ground nesting birds. So when we designed this property, it is working how we wanted it to be and how we designed it to. And that was really encouraging and really rewarding, but I didn't consider how our habitat work would influence predator movement. And like I said, it's kind of a predator food plot in a way, unintentionally. And because right here behind me, we have a 1 acre food plot, which deer browse heavily. Over here, another 50 yards, there's a little 1 acre clear cut, which again is food and cover for all species of wildlife. Right up here to my left is another 1 acre clear cut, a lot of blackberry, a lot of cover, a lot of food. And then you go a couple hundred yards to my right, there is 2 more clear cuts and another food plot and a water hole. So there's all this beneficial habitat for wildlife: food, water, cover, and space. We designed it to have favorable hunting situations, which we've capitalized on. The downside of that is because of how it's designed, all the habitat is concentrated in one spot. We make it very easy for predators to find food, which is no fault of the predator. That's what they're designed to do. So how do we combat that? We create more habitat, we space it out more. This winter, I'm actually trying my hand at trapping just to manage those populations and take some pressure off of the species that I'm managing for. I've shared before in our video series about this piece of property, when I bought it, how overrun it was with ailanthus trees, and really didn't like the fact that there were a lot of ailanthus trees on the property, but I was excited about killing them. I was excited about doing some invasive species control, getting out with a chainsaw, a bottle of herbicide, and removing these non-native invasive species. So that was my first project when I bought this piece of property, was to kill ailanthus trees. We cut them down and we treated the stump with a herbicide recommended by a forester. And this is one of the very first trees that we cut. And this was 5 or 6 years ago. You can see the stump's already starting to rot. We came in, cut it clean off, and we treated the stump with herbicide, but we used the wrong herbicide at the wrong rate. And as you can see behind me, these are all ailanthus seedlings that have sprouted off of the tree that I cut and I thought I killed. And these are 12 feet tall. That one's 20 feet tall. And then if you walk along here, all of these are off of the root system of the tree that I thought I killed. And as you can see, I did not kill that tree. There are hundreds in this probably 20-yard circumference.
That's pretty impressive. I would say so.
It's pretty wild, and it's a great teaching tool because I used the wrong herbicide at the wrong time of year. And it was really frustrating because I was so excited about the work that I was doing. My dad and I came in here, we did the work, and then that spring and summer, we didn't kill the tree. We really just upset it, and it responded really aggressively. But as we mentioned in the intro, it's a great teaching tool. I know I fact-checked, I talked with a couple other foresters, talked with some professional habitat managers who have a herbicide license and do this work more often than I do, and I have a system and a herbicide and a rate that I am completely confident in now. And I know that I'm not going to waste any more time because it's not wasted time because it was a mistake and I learned from it, but I created more work for myself in the process. And the follow-up for this isn't hard. I'll come in here and probably basil spray all of these little ailanthus seedlings. It's not difficult. I just created more work for myself. It's going to take up more time, but that's part of it. I mean, it was a mistake that I made, but we've learned from it, and now I am exceptional at killing ailanthus trees.
Yeah. And that's one thing. Cody made a good point that he contacted, a registered forester, did some homework, looked it up. A lot of people from all over the country watch these things. You got to make sure, contact your area, regional biologists, forest biologists, right. NRCS, soil and water, somebody that knows a little bit more than yourself.
Yeah.
So make sure that, you know your area.
Right.
Don't go, hey, Virginia, they're doing this. Ohio, they're doing this. So that means in Pennsylvania, I can do this.
Exactly.
Not at all. Right. Not at all. One thing that Cody did on his property, and then actually I have to take fault to it, is when he decided to plant warm season grasses, and more specifically switchgrass on his property to add diversity when it comes to the cover type, is like, yeah, let's plant switchgrass and we'll put it on heavy, because that was the thing. 8 to 10 pounds. There was times we used to put, like in the mid 2000s, early 2000s, we were putting like 12 to 15 pounds an acre. A mouse had a hard time walking around through it. So we quickly realized through, just educating and research that is not necessarily a great thing. It's not a bad thing to have, pockets of solid monoculture of switchgrass, to add diversity to the stand. But 1 to 2 pounds per acre, it creates so much life when you have that old field component with clumps of switchgrass, because that's what switchgrass is a clump grass. Now in this stand here, there's many ways that Cody's attacking it. Again, it's just like an acre or two of solid monoculture, and we both realized, like, hey, let's diversify this. Now he could went in there and, just did pockets of, get some herbicide and killed off pockets where, the old field component, more diversity, or quickly just start over, and then let Mother Nature take its course. But one method that Cody is doing, and it's really working, and is strip disking with some herbicide. I'll let him explain.
Yeah, as you can tell, this switchgrass is way too thick for what I want it to be. I want it to be, like Eric mentioned, I want there to be clumps of switchgrass for cover, a deer bedding utilization, but I also want there to be some old field component as well, where there's some broadleaf plants wildlife can navigate through here, and it's not just a solid stand of monoculture of switchgrass. So Eric and I actually burned this last year, so I had a blank slate. Once the switchgrass started to green up, late spring, early summer, I came in here with clethodim, a grass-specific herbicide, and as you can tell, where it's super thick and it's a monoculture of switchgrass, it's honestly too thick for what I want to accomplish. And then you can see where I sprayed strips and then followed up with some strip disking to stimulate the seed bank and to get some native broadleaf plants that also provide a food value. So we still have the cover component, but we're also getting some food value. And as you can see, the switchgrass, we didn't kill all of it. It's still going to be present where we set it back, but we really just wanted to thin it out so it's not so thick that it's, there's no value to wildlife. So all that to say, this was a mistake, but there are solutions. There's no such thing as a problem, I believe, only situations that need solutions. This is one of those. If you have switchgrass that is too thick for what you're trying to accomplish, burning during the growing season will also set it back. Burning during the dormant season and then following up with herbicide and disking can also help you thin out your switchgrass if it is too thick. You and I have known each other for a long time. Mm-hmm. And throughout my wildlife management journey, you've been a mentor, guiding hand. You've taught me a lot. So I'm sure it was a bit of an eye-opening experience for you to see the mistakes that I've made under your tutelage in my wildlife management journey.
Well, you know what they say, Cody. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink.
That's funny.
Yeah, but as you noticed through the whole video, that there was just little tiny things.
Yeah.
It wasn't nothing major.
Right.
Yeah, it did cost some money, a year, and not 2 years, not 3 years, but just you lost a little bit of time, maybe a little bit of dollars, but you were so close, especially like in the girdling and stuff like that we discussed.
Yeah, it's such a process, and never do we want to encourage failure or mistakes, but they're the best teaching tools. And it's a tough pill to swallow, like with the ailanthus, that I walked up and that spring and the tree wasn't dead, where I actually kind of upset it and I had more ailanthus than when I started because I used the wrong herbicide at the wrong rate. The switchgrass didn't accomplish what I wanted it to. The property design, I encouraged more predators, and as I realized those things, it is a tough pill to swallow. It's kind of a knock on your ego, and you're like, dang, I don't know as much as I thought I did. But in that process, it humbles you. It keeps you eager to learn. And as a result, I know each of those mistakes. I know property design better. I know the switchgrass better. I know how to kill ailanthus trees better as a result of that failure.
Yeah, and in today's world, you can just hide your mistakes on social media. You just don't share it, right? But no, you're gonna make mistakes. That's how we learn. And here's again, might sound corny, wildlife will benefit from those mistakes.
That's right.
Mossy Oak Properties. We're outdoorsmen. Find their favorite place.